Welcome to the Bullring. I'm Jim Tretow. Our show once again is presented by Turn 1 High Performance Steering, and we got something special for you. Junior Roethlisberger from Turn 1 High Performance Steering is going to introduce a brand new product you'll want to know about here on this episode of the Bullring. We're also talking to one of the busiest short track racers in America, Gavan Boschele, racing not only as the point leader in the ASA CRA Super Series, but he's also racing this weekend in the Southern Super Series and the final Blizzard race at Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola. We'll talk to Gavan about his chances as a 16-year-old to be a multi-time ASA champion this year. He's also a full-timer in the ASA Stars National Tour. We begin our program with a very special segment. I love the fact we get a chance to talk about all things short track racing, and what better way to introduce you to a brand new book about 20-time World of Outlaws champion, the king of the Outlaws, Steve Kinser, than with the author, the co-author of the book, Dave Argabright, here on the Bullring. We're excited to bring you a very special segment here on the Bullring. It's Dave Argabright, the noted author and motorsports journalist, joining us now to talk about this awesome book. It's about Steve Kinser, the 20-time World of Outlaws champ. Dave, welcome to the Bullring, and how exciting is us knowing you got this driver to open up, the guy that's been so stoic for so many years, the guy that was feared, the guy that was also a threat on the racetrack no matter where he raced for 40 years. How'd you get him to sit down and do a book with you?
Well, actually, Jim, you might say it took 25 years of talking to get Steve to actually sit down and do a book. When we wrote Still Wide Open back in '99, Steve wrote our foreword. And at that time, when we finished that book, I sat down with Steve and said, hey, when are we going to start your book? And, he kind of laughed and, we just talked about it a little bit. And finally he said, I will write a book someday and I'll write it with you, but I'm not ready yet. So I told him, hey, I'm not going to pester you, but I'm going to be interested whenever you're ready. So, obviously 25 years came and went, and we connected a couple of years ago, and it just felt really good for the timing. I mean, it just felt like our timing, Steve's timing was good, my timing was good, but more importantly, he just felt really comfortable right now, reflecting on his career and looking back across the years. And I think that really comes through in the book. He was just in a really good place to finally sit down and do this thing. And I feel fortunate, to be the guy that was able to help him do it.
So I want to read something. It's the foreword is by Ken Schrader. We'll get to Schrader in a moment, but there's also an introduction by Dave Argabright that really sums up how I felt and what Steve Kinser was to me as a figure before I first saw him race for the first time in 1985, and by then he was larger than life. You had said in your introduction, for a great many people, their image of Steve Kinser is a stalking titan who kicks ass and takes names. That's how they see him, and that's how they want to see him. Well, I've got good news for you. That version of Steve is the real thing, too. At the racetrack, with dust and methanol fumes hanging in the air, Kinser, the grizzly bear, was very much in his element. He was a stomping, fuming, hungry, focused force of nature. You were there, in 1980 already, interviewing him for whether it be a magazine article or a column? How did that first interaction go, knowing that I felt he was bigger than life already as a two-time World of Outlaw champion then?
Well, my first interactions with Steve, obviously were very professional. I was a writer just getting started. But he's an intimidating force, man. I mean, just his gaze and the way he conducts himself, he's always got a little bit of that barrier that all of us felt. I mean, and many, and I'm one of them, still kind of feel a little bit. That's Steve's way, and he always has that ability to keep people kind of at their distance. But once, we got to know each other and enough years passed and became friends, and, we would talk a little bit outside of racing and got to know each other better. It just was a lot easier at that point, and we could talk about things. And as I mentioned a minute ago, pitched him on the book idea and, kind of selling him on that. It just got a little bit easier as time went on. But, he's an intense character, and even yet to this day, that intensity is not far below the surface. It's not hard to bring that out in Steve. He's a very intense person, and he's more mellow than he used to be, but there's still that Kinser intensity is still very much present for him.
And he really did pioneer what we call racing souvenirs as a short track business. He and his wife Dana were the first to say, we're going to have our own line of apparel. We're going to sell our shirts after the races. We're going to design Kinser racing shoes you can buy at the track, at our hauler after the races. That was a huge business for them, but also importantly, it opened the eyes to many saying, what if I made my own shirt and sold those? That could be tire money. But the Kinsers really set the stage, I thought, pioneering the souvenir business at the track, at the hauler, at the end of the night.
Well, yeah, and as far as the souvenir business, Jim, I mean, Dana and Steve were ahead of the curve on that, and I think they realized right away from staying late and signing autographs and stuff, race fans just really wanted to take something home that connected them to the people they follow in racing. And the racing T-shirt is the perfect vehicle to do that. And they, obviously, yeah, they made a couple bucks doing it, but I think more than anything else, I think Steve and Dana figured out how to use souvenirs and T-shirts and stuff like that as a catalyst to bring people closer to them. I mean, when you'd see that line at the end of the night at their T-shirt window, man, those fans were enthusiastic, and you couldn't have that, I don't think, if you didn't have some warm connection with somebody. And despite that grizzly bear exterior, like I said a minute ago, Steve was able to connect with people at that level. And even yet to this day, coming out with this book, I'm hearing from all kind of people saying, boy, Steve was just always my favorite, and I have my favorite Steve Kinser T-shirt, and that goes back a long, long way. And before I started riding, I was just a fan like everybody else, and I remember going to those very early World of Outlaws races. And man, Steve and Carl, as soon as Steve would pull into the pits and stop, this huge ring of people would gather around his car. And I was always kind of amazed by that. I mean, it's almost like looking at something in the zoo or something. They just stared at his every move. And the same with Carl. And I mean, he could draw a crowd from day one. There was something about him and Carl and that white number 11. They just captivated people, and that tied together real nicely with people who wanted a T-shirt at the end of the night.
Dave, I appreciate the fact that it goes into his childhood. You got him to open up about taking that bicycle down the path away from the home, but he found this little dirt track, an oval, that he raced his bike around miles upon miles in the middle of a forest, and that's where he dreamt about becoming a sprint car driver. And thanks to you and I having conversations while we covered the 500 Sprint Car Tour a couple years ago for MAV TV, now Racer, we got a chance to discuss a few times about Steve opening up about those things and really making himself available to you. But I do recall one very, very piercing comment you made to me. You said all Steve wanted to do was be a sprint car driver. And it comes out very evidently in this book.
Well, I think, anytime you do a book, Jim, you want to start at the beginning. And for Steve, it felt natural to start at the beginning when he's, 2-3 years old and he's going with his family to the races. And even at that early age, he was just ate up with sprint car racing and watching his dad's every move on the racetrack. And that just was ingrained in him, from the beginning. And something he talks about a lot in the book, in addition to, that desire to be a successful race car driver, there was a fear there too. And Steve had, a late start, by nowadays, a kid that's 21 years old, they've got 15 years of experience in a race car. And Steve was 21 and he had never been in a race car. And that he had a profound fear that his time had come and went, and that somehow he was going to miss the boat and not have a career. And that was a huge motivating factor, man, from the beginning. I mean, he was on, level 10 from the get-go because, he felt like he had such a late start, and he knew what it was going to feel like if he missed it. He wasn't going to allow that to happen. And the only way he could ensure that he could continue on as a race driver was win races. That's the only way. And, it comes through very clearly in the book. That was a significant factor in his early years of, what was that fire? What was that intensity? Well, a lot of it was just a genuine fear of failure. And, all the way through his career, 40 years, he never really completely lost that fear of failure. And that's a great thing, man. If you can harness it, if you can use that as a fire, every racer will tell you, take whatever you can get to get fired up. And for Steve, that was a big one right there.
His physique sold the story that he was a man on a mission, but he also credits in the book about becoming a high school wrestler at a very popular, very established high school wrestling program. He was the 1972 132-pound state champion in Indiana. That's saying something. But he talked about wrestling and the coach and what he taught him about how to be persistent, how to be self-focused, how to have an attitude that's not necessarily a mean one, but a persistent. It comes out very evidently in the book that was a very long shaping form for him to say, I'm going to stay this. I'm going to keep my teaching the toughness, mental focus, and determination and self-reliance from those early days in high school, which he said, I had to get through school because I knew if I wasn't going to be good enough in grades, I couldn't go to the racetrack. It was great to read that.
Well, as you said, Steve touches on the wrestling thing a lot, and that was a big thing to shape him. And he does have that imposing figure. I mean, he's just everything about him, kind of keeps everybody at their distance, that scowl. And I think Schrader said it really well in the forward when he said something like, Kinzer always had this look like he was a guy that just didn't want to jack with anybody. And I thought that was really right. Kenny had it right. That was the aura that Steve put off. But I think, he also pretty quickly realized that, that was at the racetrack too. And at the racetrack, he was a different animal than you'd see him, outside the track at his shop or somewhere where we were a lot more relaxed after the races, that kind of thing. And, back to that theme we kind of seem to touch on, he was this intimidating figure of a person. And, that was part of who he is. And he might quibble a little bit about this, but I think Steve had it perfected on how he used that scowl at the right times to keep people and media and all of us at a bit of a distance when he was ready to be in his own space and focus on what he was doing at the time. And that's the thing, the word I keep going back to, the focus. Steve, his focus on the race car and the matters at hand, they're probably as strong as anybody I've ever encountered in racing. I mean, he was there to do some business when he was at the racetrack, and he didn't let anything get in the way of that.
And speaking of Schrader, he got a chance to race against Sheldon Kinzer for a championship and beat Sheldon for the USAC Silver Crunch or Sprint Car Championship, I believe it was, in 1982. Circa 1990 now, go fast forward. It says it in the forward. You got to read the whole book. Schrader in 1990 was a month shy of his third straight pole at the Daytona 500 chance with Hendrick Motorsports. He was a teammate to Steve Kinzer at the Chili Bowl, and Schrader said, man, I was so intimidated, I was so fearful that Kinzer would lap me, and they would really see the talent, who's got it and who doesn't. I mean, those kind of things coming out in true form were evident, I think, across the decades of when Steve raced. If you got the chance to race him and beat him, it was something special.
Yeah, and Jim, I felt like, Schrader was just the perfect guy to write the forward, because not only did Kenny race against Steve, I mean, in the early days, the early 80s, but he got to know him really well in later years, recent years, and he gives a perspective in his forward that is so unique. I'm so glad that he was willing to help us with the forward, and he kind of really touches on the humanity of Steve and talks about his grandkids and things like that. And whenever you have a book, you want the forward to be really relevant. You want it to be not just a name, but you want it to be somebody who really adds something to the story. And Kenny really did that in this book. And we had several different people in mind when we thought about somebody to write the forward. But Steve, he was very quick to say, Kenny's the guy. Kenny would be the right person. And that was a great call, because he really came through. And what it comes through too is just like you said. I mean, the respect for Steve goes across every kind of racing genre. And I remember years ago talking to various people in NASCAR, IndyCar racing, even drag racing, and really you kind of had the idea they don't know very much about sprint cars. They don't follow sprint cars, but over and over again, they knew who Steve Kinzer was. And as soon as that name came up, you could just tell in the tone of their voice and their expression, total respect. And that's what Steve earned, I think, through all those issues of Speed Sport. Every week, Kinzer wins here, Kinzer wins there, another championship for Kinzer. And it was just this incredible feat, to win all those races. And even people outside sprint car racing, like you say, pretty soon the legend of Steve Kinzer, it crossed into a lot of different genres in the sport.
In 1993, he won the World of Outlaws Championship, was invited to race in the International Race of Champions, the IROC Series, stock cars on ovals, Michigan, Talladega, Daytona, and one other track. He was invited among the IndyCar champions, the NASCAR champions. He got to race and actually won at Talladega in 1993. And he got a phone call in 1994 from Jay Fry. It's detailed in the book as well. Thanks for reminding me, to go racing full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. That's chronicled as well. I'm glad he was so open about how that process went and didn't go as well as planned.
Yeah, Jim, I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing I think that really gives the book more personality is Steve's willingness to talk not just about, hey, I won this, and hey, we did this, and all of that kind of thing, but he was very honest about the things that didn't go like he wanted to. And clearly, his experience in NASCAR in '95 was one of those things. I mean, obviously everybody wanted it to go better, but it didn't. And that's got to be a humbling experience for any professional racer. And then he, was able to regroup and come home. And home is a figurative thing and literal, because he had the shop at his house. But home really was sprint car racing for Steve. I think that's kind of what he discovered during his brief time away in NASCAR and stuff. I mean, he's a sprint car guy through and through. But I really appreciated his honesty when we were sitting at his kitchen table talking through that chapter of his life. And he didn't really pull any punches. I mean, he was very honest about his own failings and the things that, he wished would have gone better. But he's not a guy that throws people down the stairs. You know what I mean? He's not somebody who had an axe to grind. That comes off very clearly. That's just not his nature. He was honest about it, and this is what happened. But it's just one more way. The book, I think, is more well-rounded. It's a complete picture of Steve and his career. It's not just a highlight reel. It's the highs and the lows. And just like everybody else, even the legend Steve Kinser, I mean, he had some definite lows, and those clearly come throughout the book.
And Dave, you've had a chance to sit down with some of the stars, the superstars of our sport, whether it be Speedy Bill in Nebraska at Speedway Motors, or a guy like Jimmy Owens, who you wrote a book with, or Luke Warmwater, who is Jimmy Sills, and Jack Hewitt and Chrissy Kanamaki. They are literally subjects of books you co-wrote with them. And this is an autobiography, kind of told the way Steve wanted to tell it. It's his way of saying, this is what happened, this is how it happened. But at 40 years of age, he tried the NASCAR thing. And after age 40, you're proud to tell me, how many races did he win after that? Had championships, 6 more World of Outlaw titles while racing into his 50s.
I mean, that's exactly right, Jim. I mean, one of the things we wanted to add into the appendix of the book was a detailed listing of all of Steve's wins. I mean, that took many months of research and qualifying stuff and double checking things. And we felt very good that this is the definitive list of all of Steve's wins. But one of the things that occurred to me, there's always this discussion about who's the greatest of all time, in any form of racing. And Steve clearly is the front runner in all of that. And that appendix with all of his wins, almost 1,000 sprint car wins, that's incredible. But it occurred to me as we're going through this that I went back and checked. Steve won 289 sprint car races after his 40th birthday. I mean, who does that? I mean, sprint cars are a young guy's form of racing. It's tough, it's physical, and it's very, very demanding. Usually by 40, a guy's pretty well, just about done as far as his peak years. But Steve, like I say, 289 wins after age 40. Right there they are listed. And that to me is the one thing that will separate Steve forever from anybody else. Now there may be some guys come along someday and touch his numbers, 20 World of Outlaws championships and 12 Knoxville Nationals and 950 some sprint car races. That's possible. But man, 289 after age 40, that's going to be one of those things where when you're sitting having a beer with your friends, you're going to say, now that's a record that's never going to be broken. You feel kind of safe, putting it in that context, because nobody, you look back through history and even contemporary racers, nobody touches that. Nobody's even close.
Yeah, and I want to go back to about 1989, 1990, somewhere in there, where Steve was on top of the world. And in 1990, there was a non-wing sprint car race at Eldora that Kenny Schrader refers to in the foreword. So Steve is already a multi-time champion in the World of Outlaws. He takes the wing off of a CRA-sanctioned non-wing sprint car race at Eldora and beats him. He was pretty good with non-wing, too. He talked about the early days of the World of Outlaws, where the promoter had the option whether they want the wing on or not at these sprint car races that Ted Johnson organized. It's crazy to know. That's all in the book, and it's really cool to read through all of the pages, 288 of them, about these stories that continue to come out about how it was and how it continues to be for Steve Kinser.
You mentioned the Eldora thing and the CRA and taking the wing off in 1990 and beating those guys. I think, for every racer, and again, touching on what I said a minute ago, the universal respect that Steve had, and part of that was his ability to do, something that's very, very difficult. To go back to Eldora, take the wing off, hadn't been without a wing in like 7 years, and beat some of the best in the country with CRA. Nobody thought he could do it. I think everybody wondered if he could do it, but when he did it, You know, that's one of those things that people still talk about that. That's 30 some years ago. And that day at Eldora, beating CRA without the wing, that was a remarkable achievement. They still talk about that one.
Yeah, 3 Silver Crown victories, but in the chances of racing non-wing, his dad Bob was a legend. The entire Kinzer family, Kelly, Randy, you name it, his cousin Mark, his cousin Carl, they were so established in racing. And I'm really glad Steve was vulnerable. I think I used that word once before, but in reality, when that NASCAR stuff kind of dried up, he said, I was in the middle of nowhere. I had no equipment. I was 17 years with Carl. Now I'm starting over. I didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do. And it's amazing to know that you got a couple holes in that armor to tell us what's on the inside and what came out. And I'm really glad you got to tell it in this book.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, getting through that armor. I mean, that's something, Jim, that I really wanted to do. I mean, I didn't want this to be something where you just read the facts and figures. I wanted to try to get people to be able to see and hear and feel what Steve was thinking and what he has inside of him. And I got to tell you, he was incredibly generous to us sitting at his kitchen table. He allowed us into his home and I think that helped make him more comfortable. And that's the thing people already so far are telling me. They're amazed at some of the things they're reading here because it's like, wow, I can't believe Steve was willing to talk about this. But that's what we wanted. We wanted this to be the real deal, and we wanted it to be maybe the best shot ever at reaching the inside of one of the greatest figures ever to sit in a race car, and a guy who normally doesn't tell you a lot, but he gives you an awful lot in this book.
And we chronicled also riding it out to 2016 with Tony Stewart as his team owner and Johnny Schatz as his teammate. This book is a must read. Where can we find it again, Dave?
You can get the book at our website, daveargabright.com, DaveArgabright.com. If you Google Steve Kinzer book, you'll find us pretty easily that way too. But I have all my other books on there too. And we also are sold at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum gift shop. And Coastal 181, our friends out east, they've got the book also.
It's been our pleasure to have you here on the Bullring, Dave. Thank you, my friend, for your time. Really appreciate all the efforts, and it really plays out well here in the book you got to get. Thank you, Dave.
Well, Jim, it's good talking with you again, and I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you helping us get the word out about the book. Thank you.
Still on the way, Turn 1 Steering's Junior Roethlisberger and Toyota Racing Development driver Gavan Boschele, and much more on the Bullring on Racing America and Track TV. The Bullring is presented by Turn 1 High Performance Power Steering Products. With over 40 years of racing knowledge in NASCAR, for your Corvette, street car, or super late model, check out their superior steering products with the best components and the best industry upgrades, all with a proven track record and attention to detail. Visit turn1steering.com.
54th Annual Winchester 400, presented by Vors Welding and Steel, is back at Winchester Speedway, October 10th to 12th. It all begins Friday the 10th. Jake's CRA All-Star Tour, presented by Chevrolet Performance, the Vors Compact Touring Series, and Thunder Roadsters. Then on Saturday, it's the Vors Welding CRA Late Model Sportsman, CRA Street Stocks, and the Midwest Modifieds Tour. And Sunday, it's the 54th running of the Winchester 400, featuring the Appalachian Sucker Punch ASA Stars National Tour. For tickets and more info, visit winchester-speedway.com.
They said I wouldn't make it without a college degree.
They said only a man could be a roofing executive.
They said a former addict always relapses.
They said my amputation would keep me out of roofing.
They said never give an ex-convict a second chance.
They said I could never be a leader.
They said I couldn't support my family as a single mom.
At Rackley, we say they're wrong.
Want to change the world? Change it, one roof at a time.
We're the leader in race fuels. We've been doing this since in the 60s. We use our distillation tower, which is unique. No other race fuel companies do that in the world. We also test every single batch that goes out the door on over 15 different parameters that ensure the tune-up will be identical. That consistency in the marketplace that makes us a premium brand.
Make the same stuff every time. We're pretty darn close to perfect.
Welcome back to the Bullring, presented by Turn 1 High Performance Steering. We have VP of Operations for Turn 1 Steering joining us now, Junior Roethlisberger. Junior, thanks for welcoming us to the Bullring with your sponsorship and all the great products you have. Thanks for being part of the program. What's going on these days in Michigan at Turn 1 Steering?
Oh, not a whole lot. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Just wanted to talk about some of the new and exciting stuff we got going on here in regards to our short track program.
So you have an established remote servo for the rack and pinion steering you offer for late model short track racers. That's an established product with 40 years of experience behind it. But you guys never stop working on what's coming next. What is coming next, Junior?
So we're just rolling out our integral servo rack. So the valve will be attached to the rack now. A lot of the Midwest Tour guys run that. Some of the ACT guys run that. Modifieds, like the Wheeling type stuff will run that. So we felt like that was, the logical next step. So we're rolling that out now. That should be available on the website, turn1steering.com, or you can call and order that. We've got new clevis options coming out as we, just continue to build the product line. We just released like an eyelet setup instead of the slotted clevis. So check that out, and stuff will just keep rolling out, as it comes in the door. So
I got a chance to talk to you at Owasso Speedway recently where the ASA Stars raced, and it was a great conversation. I had no idea how many years you spent racing a late model at Owasso. How many other people in the shop at Turn 1 Steering apply themselves as racers to what is now a superior product?
Not a whole lot.
Okay.
We got one drag race guy. Mark likes to run his mini bike around, but other than that, I'm the only one who has oval track experience. My dad did some road course stuff, through GM when he worked there. But I'm the one who kind of took the wheel per se and rolled with it. So
the passion and pride is there. The external servo steering rack and pin you have now is a superior product. That is still available, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yep. Nothing's changed there. We're just adding to the amount of offerings and diversity with that product line. As time goes on, we got some different center to center lengths available now. We only had the 18 1/4 center to center. Now we've got a 20 1/2. So and just as time goes on, it's just going to keep that product line is just going to continue to grow. We're just we want to invest in the local short track circuit, like the ASA Stars Tour and all those subsequent series there. So we just want to continue to invest in there. We feel like those guys deserve the best of the best. So.
And you had some of the better teams try your stuff. Anthony Campy Racing, who won the ASA Stars Championship last year and has Carson Brown this year, doing great things, have used your product, as well as Ty Fredericks and his dad Dan. They're big proponents of Turn 1 steering products. What makes your products superior to others in terms of lowering the weight and now getting some more parts internally?
Yeah, I mean, we designed the unit to be, and this applies to whether it's the remote servo or the integral servo. We designed it to be, better feedback through less drag bind that happens with the the unit that's currently available. With it being an auxiliary cylinder, we've put those cylinders internal into the housing, made it an integral power steering rack. And that just helps with, nice smooth action for the driver, more consistent feedback and feel. We feel like that, really is something that just hasn't been available to these guys, and giving them that, will help them just, drive the car harder, better, faster, and, give them, benefits on the other side.
And I imagine one big benefit of going internal now is that weight is now lower. Your rack has that, your rack and pinion has the ability to be lower, which means the lower the weight, the better the car can be handling, right? So when it comes to internal stuff, how much does that factor into what you design and the clearances and all that kind of fun stuff that is way above my head when it comes to engineering that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, with the integral servo, I mean, you're moving the weight down. It's more about packaging, really. Some cars like a Midwest Tourer car, they have room, to be able to put the servo, on the rack basically and mount it down low. Whereas, a traditional Super, you don't have that clearance around the oil pump and all that kind of stuff to be able to fit that in there. And the cross members and all that kind of stuff are all different. But like a Wheel and Mod, those guys can't, they can't run an upstream servo or a remote servo. There is literally no room in there. So they've got to run the integral. So it's more of a packaging thing. There's not really a benefit one way or the other. Like our integral rack is going to be more of a production style unit where the pinion and the valve are all one piece instead of the traditional two piece that has like a coupler in the center. That coupler can wear out. You get some inconsistencies there. It wears, it does some funny things. So it's going to be an all one piece valve. And we've been able to, keep the cost down to a point to where it's still going to be serviceable and changeable and modifiable as time goes on without, any super expensive cost.
And I did notice on turn1steering.com, your website, there is ability for someone to repair their own or update their own or change their own steering rack. They don't have to send it back per se to get work done, right?
Right. Yeah. No. 100%. We tried to. We've been. Being a racer myself. Being around it. We've seen. What was available for these guys already. So that serviceability was a big part of what we wanted to roll into this. Making it serviceable, making it easy, kit-based stuff, so, it makes it super easy if you need to make do some service work, make a change. It's something, the rack's almost modular, if you will, to where you're not locked into just one thing where you got to go buy another rack if you want to go with a quicker ratio or something like that. You can do that all just by changing a few parts in ours.
It's amazing, and you got the experience to back it up, and you said you're a phone call away, right? So people can certainly get a hold of you.
Oh, yeah, 100%. No, we're here to, help our customers, 100%. That's, without our customers, we wouldn't be here. So we pride ourselves on having really good customer service and being able to help solve problems, and that's what we're here for, so.
And Junior, I noticed that on your website, it's very evident that there is more than short track racing in what you offer. There's a great component when it comes to Corvettes, when it comes to what they are put through the screws, whether it be you want to be faster at drifting or you want to have a better autocross car or just a car enthusiast that wants the best stuff. What do you have available in terms of on-the-road equipment that people are now using for racetrack applications?
Oh, man. I mean, we've got like a whole line of, power steering pumps for LS accessory drives, so your popular stuff, your Camaros, your Corvettes, CTSVs, that kind of stuff. We've got a whole power steering line for that. We do a ton of service work for rack and pinions. We just came out with quicker C factors for C5, C6 Corvettes. And on top of all that, we're still doing NASCAR stuff. So it's not just we're not just a new kid on the block. Mm-hmm. We've been doing this for a long time, and our scope is very wide. I mean, we do a ton of TA2 stuff. We do a ton of road course stuff, autocross drifting, and then we still do all the high performance professional stuff in the NASCAR world, and ARCA and all that. So this was just the next logical step for us.
And what are you applying to the super late model level? You mentioned NASCAR and ARCA. What are you currently working with in terms of providing them equipment and what they use?
Well, we still offer a power steering pump for them. It's not in a kit-based form, which is pretty popular right now. Just being able to bolt on everything in the accessory drive makes it really easy. It's a one-stop shop, right? But on the pump side, we can build a more efficient pump that can handle the wheel load that these cars are producing and give them the same performance level that we provide to, our cup teams. So, we're working on a bunch of other stuff for the late model world. Nothing I'm ready to announce yet, but
more to come.
Oh yeah, we've got big plans for this. We're in it for the long haul, so we're just very thankful for the customers and relationships that we've built so far. With you guys, the ASA Tour, all our customers that run these cars all across the country. Just looking forward to getting more in depth with them and growing with them as time goes on.
You're based in Michigan, no doubt. You probably ship worldwide. When someone has a question, you can go to the website, turn1steering.com, but there are certain hours that would be better than others to get a hold of you guys, because I know you're busy going to the racetrack or testing things in the lab on a regular basis.
Nope. We're available 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Any questions, anytime, you can shoot us an email through the website. You can give us a call. We're always available and, willing to help. So.
And willing to go to the track and talk directly to these people and get out there and test with them. And it's an ongoing basis to provide premier and superior products. And it's great to know that Turn 1 High Performance Steering is available now in short track form, and a new piece coming out that's on the website, turn1steering.com. Junior, it's really cool to have you guys involved. And I can't thank you enough for your passion and your ability to make it affordable. And I think a lot of people will benefit from having your products on their race cars.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Junior, thanks again. Turn1steering.com is the website. Junior and his family business have over 40 years of experience to get what you need to do. Turn that car right, turn it quick, turn it the way you want it to, and win some races. Junior, thanks for your time tonight on the Bullring.
Thank you.
Straight ahead, 2 big race weekends we want to make sure you're part of. This Saturday, the ASA Southern Super Series returns to Pensacola's Five Flag Speedway for the Night of Champions, the Blizzard Series Championship races. And the action-packed Winchester 400 weekend featuring several divisions racing for the Winchester Rifle, capped off by the Appalachian Sucker Punch ASA Stars National Tour Winchester 400. We're going around the horn when we return. You're watching The Bullring, a short track racing podcast presented by Turn 1 High Performance Steering Products.
Better than a bootlegger. Way better than a bootlegger. Pretty good. Very blueberry. Highly recommend this to anybody out there. It's pretty good. 10 out of 10 right there.
I think it's delicious. I had the peach, I had the grape at Five Flags. Trying the pina colada right now. Feels like I'm on the beach somewhere.
Calling all race fans. We have launched a new travel site where the race fans can enjoy free savings and upgrades on all of their travel needs. RacerTravel.com is free to join and unlocks unpublished bookings and rates for our racing community. Up to 50% off on more than 1 million rooms across the U.S. and Canada with unpublished discounts on hotel bookings. Unlock a hidden selection of hotels and rates that cater to your travel preferences. Whether you're heading out to the track as a competitor, fan, or anything in between, use Racer Travel for all your race, business, and vacation travel needs.
5-star bodies, the most advanced bodies on the market, aerodynamically engineered, manufactured from the highest grade and lightest weight materials, tested tough for optimum performance, the highest quality and most durable products you'll find anywhere. Our products help racers around the world reach victory lane. Winning never looked so good. Faster, lighter, stronger, better. 5-star.
Located in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, Atlantic Tilt Load is your trusted partner in specialized transportation across Canada and into the United States. With a fleet of tilt decks, boom trucks, lowboys, and tractor trailers, we handle oversized and long-haul freight with precision and care. Need it there fast? Our 24-hour hotshot service is standing by. Wide load? We've got certified vehicle escort services ready to roll. Atlantic Tilt Load, family roots, North American reach.
54th Annual Winchester 400, presented by Vors Welding and Steel, is back at Winchester Speedway, October 10th to 12th. It all begins Friday the 10th. JXRA All-Stars Tour, presented by Chevrolet Performance, the Vors Compact Touring Series, and Thunder Roadsters. Then on Saturday, it's the Vors Welding CRA Late Model Sportsman, CRA Street Stocks, and the Midwest Modifieds Tour. And Sunday, it's the 54th running of the Winchester 400, featuring the Appalachian Sucker Punch ASA Stars National Tour. For tickets and more info, visit winchester-speedway.com.
Welcome back to the Bullring. I'm Jim Tretow. We begin our Around the Horn segment with some great racing highlights from a couple races in the upper Midwest. We begin with the Appalachian Sucker Punch ASA Stars National Tour most recent race, the CorvetteParts.net Glass City 200 at Toledo Speedway.
Perfect night for racing. 71 degrees. We're about to turn them loose here at Toledo. Off at turn number 4. The CorvetteParts.net Glass City 200 is underway. Sutton and Reeves into turn 1.
Good clean start down through 1 and 2. Sutton races out front. Reeves drops in line, and it's row 2 in a battle. Francis on the inside. Butcher, the point leader, alongside in the high lane.
Butcher got away. It looked like clean in third, but Albert Francis really charging hard on the inside.
Here to look at the replay.
Into the corner. It looks like Francis got to the inside of Butcher. Couldn't hold it.
I'm also not so sure that, like, when it was steady and then Butcher kind of comes down a little bit because he thought Francis was going to go all the way to the bottom line, and when he did, that put the right front tire against the door of Cole Butcher, and that's what got Francis sideways.
And Derek Krause. Derek Krause brings out our first caution.
They're going to go right to this left rear where the contact was made. You can see the tire, the lettering rubbed off of that tire. So they're going to double check air pressure on that left rear, make sure it hasn't lost any air. They're going to pull it off, make sure there's no damage to the underneath.
Thorne's car rotating very well through the corners. Sauter's kind of hanging on to his right now in the turns, and Thorne is there. Contact made. Around goes Sauter, backs it up into the barriers.
Back to racing at Toledo Speedway. The green flag about to be displayed. Racing underway. Begins on lap 35 of the CorvetteParts.net Glass City 200. 3-wide run. Carson Brown dips inside of Dawson Sutton. A surprising, stellar move. A little bit stepped out last time. Now side by side. Pollard giving up the spot. Gave him room. Oh, they touch.
Oh,
Pollard
big hit.
spins. A long spin by Pollard. Backs up the entire field.
Oh, and there goes Pollard up and takes a swipe at Majeski. Down in the corner, down in turns 3 and 4.
Bubba Pollard very visible. Upset with Toby Noodleman. That's the crew chief on Ty Majeski's number 91.
Has a good run through 3 and 4. He's got a tire rub on the left rear. That is not good for Carson Brown. He leads for the first time. Lap 54 complete.
Is Max Reeves. $300 to second place finisher Dawson Sutton. $200 at the end of stage 1 being awarded to Ty Majeski.
Reeves a good run through 1, but it's the outside lane, and Dawson Sutton making a heck of a run off of turn number 2, pulling forward. Can Sutton take the lead back? The answer at the line is yes. Thorne around, Boschele around on the front straightaway. More trouble.
Holding him off for second currently.
Ty's being patient right now. He's being patient. He's got a faster car. Well, maybe a little less patient in 1 and 2, but
one tap there.
His car is, there's a big tap.
That's a sender. And Majeski almost loses it.
Reeves around. Carson Brown avoids. Yeah, I think
behind
you're right.
the Rackley logo on his quarter panel.
Ooh. Casey Klein hung on to it. Got a little free going into the corner. Oh, Kyle Steckley up into the wall hard.
Right front tire might have gone down.
Yeah, I think you're right. And now comes off.
It went down and now it's gone.
Good start at the front of the field. It's going to be Butcher the advantage through 1 and 2. Has a great exit of turn 2. We see that outside lane coming in. Now it's 3 wide. Look at Sutton making the move. Francis caught in the middle. Everyone else trying to avoid. Here comes Phillips to the bottom. Contact made. Francis saves.
Francis has a good piece. He just became the pinball. Now, but as they race on for 5th, we watch this race to the end of stage 2. Stage 2, presented by HD5, has been won by Cole Butcher.
Kind of waited on each other there in the front row, deciding who was going to go and win, and it's Dawson Sutton off of the second corner, utilizing that outside lane and slightly fresher rubber than Cole Butcher. New leader back out front as he was early in this race, Dawson Sutton.
This is the HD5 final lap, the final 2 turns. The number 26 of Dawson Sutton in his 20th start. It's win number 2 for Dawson Sutton at Toledo Speedway in the Appalachian Sucker Punch ASA Stars National Tour.
Just a dominant performance, and he is going to get doused by water and confetti. Just an absolute domination of a day for Dawson Sutton, and what a way to rebound after what happened here last year. Dawson Sutton sitting in victory lane after last year. This is a great way to come back and rebound after that. Did you think there was any doubt today that you would end up here?
Yeah, for sure. We had a really good race last year, just not very much luck. And coming back here, we've just had a great car all day. And to put it up front there in qualifying, I really just had a lot of confidence going into the 200 lapper. But luckily, we parked it in victory lane. It feels really good.
And I hope to see you at some of these upcoming ASA section races. Or you can watch them live or on demand on Track TV or Racing America. Stay tuned. One of the busiest super late model drivers in the country joins us next on the Bullring, presented by Turn 1 High Performance Steering Products.
Legacies aren't built overnight. They're built 1 second at a time. Never taking a lap off, and always pushing the limits. K1, helping you build your legacy from the beginning.
This corner isn't just a car lot, it's where stories begin. First jobs, first road trips, creating memories and starting new chapters. For the dreamers, the doers, the ones building something of their own, we've got you too. Because at Car Corner, it's not just about getting a car, it's about where that car will take you.
Looking to start a new career path in motorsports or searching for something new in your racing journey? Racer Jobs is your destination for providing the most current job openings from top racing teams, manufacturers, sanctioning bodies, and suppliers. Whether you're a budding race engineer, a seasoned mechanic, or a marketing ace, we consistently refresh our listings with new roles that could meet your ambitions. Looking for a great candidate as an employer? Then tap into our Racer Jobs audience and database to find that perfect candidate. Go to racerjobs.com today.
Why not give your grill the deep clean it deserves? The CitraSafe Grill Cleaner Complete Bucket Kit has everything you need to get your grill spotless, inside and out. Powered by natural citrus, CitraSafe cuts through the toughest grease and grime safely and easily. No harsh chemicals, no hassle. Recipes taste better on a clean grill.
Welcome back to the Bullring, presented by Turn 1 High Performance Steering. As we look ahead to Crown Jewel season when it comes to super late model racing, let's take a moment to reflect on how it all came down last year at Winchester Speedway and who got the Winchester rifle in the Appalachian Sucker Punch ASA Stars National Tour race at Winchester Speedway in Indiana.
Oh, big crash in turn 1 and 2. Look out, Hind around, Bearden in there, Sutton, Garcia, Boschele in the 24, the 33 of Francis, and the 5 of Jonathan Nee.
Oh yeah, I've been telling people, like every time I come to Winchester, it brings out every emotion inside my body. Anything emotionally people can have in their life, it comes out in me here because I've seen it all. I grew up here.
The best super late model racers from North America, including Canada, have assembled to determine who's going to win it. Off of turn 4. Crown Jewel season continues here. The Winchester 400's underway. Roderick and Ruggiero lead us to the front stretch. Anthony Campy racing on the top side. Michael Hind racing with champion defending. Ty Majeski taking the lead away. Turn number 4 to the finish line. New leader, lap 45, Ty Majeski.
They're thinking that there is some fluid leaks possibly from one of these top 2 cars. So Majeski's come down,
He gets a thumbs up, and now the 51 of Stephen Nasse is coming to pit road. So they have seen some fluid when he pulled away from where he was located on the racetrack.
We had a little oil leak and ended up being the rear end, so come in and got that tightened up. And I guess just run out of fluid a little bit too much and burn it up. So
Lake Row will bring out the officially the third caution. Every lead lap car has come to pit road. Charlie Crawl.
Yeah, down here in Cole Butcher's pit. Surprisingly, guys, they're going to the left side tires first down here for all three Wilson Motorsports teams, changing left side tires.
Somehow doesn't match up with Pinsino. They both go to the rear. We go back forward. Green flag flying into turn one. Pinsino, the control car, has the lead early.
Oh, big crash in turn 1 and 2. Look out, Hind around, Bearden in there, Sutton, Garcia.
Let's take a look. This is the top 6 rolling into turn number 1.
Boschele got into the 69 of Hind.
Send him for a ride. It was a long tag into turn 1. Just couldn't stay off of Hind's car, and Hind went around. The control car on the outside is Pinsino and Majeski decided down the front stretch this time.
Is that stage flag waves, takes the $1,000 bonus for stage 1 win.
Coming back to the green to restart this race on lap 154. Ty Majeski, the control car, to his inside for the first time. It's Cole Butcher to the inside.
Butcher lead for the first time today. Cole Butcher, the Canadian out front. Majeski says, not so fast, I want it back. The 26 of Roderick, I think he has a right front.
Yeah, guys, here comes Casey Roderick, flat right front tire. Timing could not have been worse right here towards the end of this 75-lap green flag run.
And Ty Majeski's pit right now, and got a plug wire in hand with some zip ties.
Yeah, guys, hood is up, and they are checking every one of those plug wires. They've got a thermometer to diagnose which one of those cylinders isn't hitting, trying to diagnose what could be a cylinder not firing.
Up the banking, gaining speed. Majeski on the outside, a good restart here. We'll lead him in the outside lane into turn 1. Ruggiero trying to clear Majeski to take the lead out right down the backstretch, and he does so.
End of stage number 2 for the ASA Stars National Tour event at Winchester Speedway. $1,000 going to that young man right there, Gio Ruggiero.
Yeah, Adam, Ty Majeski bringing the 91 back down pit road. They are going right back under the hood, checking all of the cylinders. Again, still just not able to find which one of those cylinders isn't hitting.
Back to green flag on lap 307, the Winchester 400. Ruggiero takes him into turn 1. Cole Butcher takes the lead on Gio Ruggiero, who's way off the pace suddenly. Ruggiero off the pace from the lead at Winchester.
Big issues for Ruggiero, something in the drivetrain, and yes, there it goes.
Back in the series after a 2-race break and underway, Butcher leads him into turn 1.
I think Majeski's just as quick again. Once they get up and running, he stays with him. In fact, might close the gap. It's going to take just one mistake. And remember a year ago, Cole Butcher late in the race made 1 or 2 mistakes that he normally doesn't make. 19 laps remain in the 53rd running of the Winchester 400. Cole Butcher, Ty Majeski battling for the lead in the late going.
Off of turn number 4. Butcher wins the 53rd running of the Winchester 400.
It would have been better if my wife and my baby boy were here, but this is awesome. Can't thank Wilson Motorsports enough for it was a rough weekend, to be honest, and know I've given 2 of these away, so this feels good.
It'll be here before you know it. The 2025 Winchester 400 comes your way on Sunday, October 12th. If you can't be there at Winchester Speedway with us, you can watch it all on Track TV. And we now have a chance here on the Bullring to talk to one of the busiest drivers in short track racing. This is a short track racing podcast. It seems like everywhere I turn, I'm reading about Gavan Boschele. Gavan, welcome back to the Bullring.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. This coming Saturday, another chance to race for a Blizzard Series championship, another chance to score huge points in the Southern Super Series, the ASA Southern Super Series racing this Saturday night on Track TV and Racing America. That's a series that's within the Southern Super Series. The Blizzard's a 4-race try to lock it in and win that championship, because with that becomes a very important provisional for the Snowball Derby. This is all building up for what is a full season for you in the Super Late Model world. How are things going for preparation for this coming Saturday?
Pretty good so far. I actually went to the shop today, talked to all the guys, and sat in the car, make sure everything was good. So I'm excited for this weekend. We've been struggling a lot at Pensacola this year. just had some issues, but I think we got it all figured out now, and hopefully come Saturday night we can be dialed in. So I'm pretty excited. I know I got a lot of good guys behind me, so hopefully we can win and be prepared because it's the last race before the Derby, so it's very important.
Yeah, also, there's another big race on the schedule coming up. It's called the Winchester 400. It's a points race for the Appalachian Sucker Punch ASA Stars National Tour, where you're a full-time driver in that. But it's also a combination race with the ASA CRA Super Series, where you're the point leader of the Midwestern Super Late Series that's under the ASA banner. So that's going to be another important race. And how important was that to race that race 1 year ago to a sixth-place finish, to know going back now, points matter in the championship? Points are certainly what you're thinking about in both arenas, the Stars and CRA Super Series.
Yeah, I think last year definitely helped me running it, even though it kind of didn't go as planned. Winchester's definitely a cool track, and it's definitely fast, that's for sure, and a lot can happen. So I think this year, knowing with the races under my belt, doing it last year, those 2 races I did, I'm definitely prepared now. So I'm not sure how far back I'm in the points of the ASA stuff, but I'm pretty sure Cole's probably got a good chunk, got a good lead. So something catastrophic would have to happen for me to win that one too. But I think I just always show up to the track and try to win. This is my first year really racing for a championship, so I didn't really know like exactly like a kind of like a championship mindset, but I just kind of show up to the track and win.
And Gavin, I know that the higher you get, the more you're going to get the chunk of that $100,000 point fund, the ASA Stars National Championship point fund at year's end. Cole Butcher, your teammate, certainly has a grasp on it now, but you're racing a lot of young drivers like yourself, racing for really big status and big wins and big opportunities, especially with you now realigned with the Toyota Racing Development Group. I want to go back to the beginning of the year. New Smyrna Speedway, you really ran a really strong World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing in the Super Late models, ran all the races, and one of those happened to be the first race of this year's ASA Stars season, and you won that one. Looking back now on what happened in February already, what are your thoughts about that race and how important it was to get a win that early in the season?
It's pretty cool. Racing with that caliber of a field is probably one of the best fields we've had all year. Definitely. It was really cool. The car was lights out, like just so good that whole entire week, and everything just kind of, it was one of those weeks where everything just kind of like aligned. It was just one of those times where you're just like, you hit the nail on the head. So it was definitely good to see all the guys just kind of click it off. It was just a really good week for us there. So you'll have that, then you'll have the ups and downs. So it was a really good week. Couldn't thank those guys enough for that. But looking forward now. I'm excited to get after it. Kind of struggled a little bit mid-season, but we've kind of made a good recovery and have had a lot of bad luck. So hopefully it's all gone now before we come around to all these big races.
It's been a while since we had down the Bullring. After that big victory, you went on to win the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing Championship, the 5-race series. The 4th race was the ASA Stars race. In that race, your teammate was Christopher Bell, and he's been kind of on your side, in your court for a while now, since days racing at Millbridge. Has C-Bell been on your speed dial this season to get you focused on these big races?
Not so much now. I still talk to him, every now and then, telling him congrats on the Cup side. He's obviously racing for a really big championship in the Cup stuff. So I always reach out to him, shoot him a few texts, tell him good luck, and he always tells me good job and stuff. So he's definitely always been there, been a big role model towards me, and it was definitely cool seeing him run that race. It was like last second decision. So it was definitely really cool to see him there and get back into the Super.
I also want to commend you for what you're able to do is overcome adversity. Running top 5 after early race issues, it really was evident at Anderson Speedway, a 400-lap race at a quarter-mile racetrack in central Indiana, a hot July night, and you ended up finishing second after what was a crazy crash about 100 laps into that 400-lapper, and it seemed like it was like, okay, now what? And wouldn't you know, you came back to finish second. Talk us through how that went in that night, showing you can overcome some certain adversities.
All 3 of us. Actually, me and Cole qualified not good at all. So we were already in the back. I think I was up to I was moving my way up, and then I don't even know what happened. I think someone just wrecked in front of me. I had nowhere to go, and then ended up coming in, and we were all we were all banged and bruised up. So I didn't know how good we were gonna be just having blue collar day. So I don't really know. We just kind of went out there. We ran until the end of the stage, I remember, and then came back in, taped it up a little bit more, and then I think those last 150 laps, we kind of started digging, and sooner rather than later, we were back up front trying to get to Cole.
Good thing you turned 16 earlier this year, because I recall in your post-race interviews, and I reviewed it on our Track TV coverage, which you can watch on demand. You can watch that race to its completion, including the post-race interview. You said, I ran out of water on lap 5. My radio was going bad. My earplugs are plugged, so I was just kind of hanging on. And you looked exhausted. Man, that was a challenging night all around.
Yeah, I was beat. That was probably one of the most enduring races I've ever done in my life. That was really, really, really tough. There's been a few races where I've been like that, and that was definitely like top 3 for sure.
One thing that Cole Butcher, who won that race, credited was the Toyota Performance Center, where you have access to in Charlotte, where it comes to be where they are working you not only mentally, physically. You have a chance to work in really conditions that help you as a driver overcome those 350 lap races going, how many more laps to go? Oh man, I'm falling out of the seat. How does that Performance Center and the training help you now racing towards the last quarter, I would say, of your racing season?
Definitely. You have like the heat room and stuff like that where we have to wear like full on like hoodies and like sweatpants. So we're in there for an hour or 60 minutes, an hour. And we're just kind of doing our cardio and like lifting weights and stuff. Then you have obviously just like the normal weight room where we have all of us train and stuff like that. But it's definitely a beneficial help. Keeps everyone in shape. And the heat room is definitely big for when you get hot in the race car.
So other than watching film, perhaps sim on tracks you can find, we're looking at a couple of big racetracks yet to come. We're looking at Nashville for the All-American 400 as the final race of the season. We talked about Winchester. You got laps there, but how are you preparing now for Nashville and the 400-lap race that will decide the ASA Stars National Championship?
I've been there a few times. I've obviously seen it a bunch. I think we're gonna go there and test possibly before we get down there. So that would definitely help. Probably just watch some in-car of past people there, and then other than that, probably just send it.
Love it. Not only have you said it, if you look at Gavan Boschele's bio, you're just 16 years of age now, but you've raced in the Chili Bowl, you've raced midgets, you raced wing sprint cars, you got a chance to race super late models, I think, a couple years ago already. So it wasn't like one to the next. You were kind of crossing over. But this season's been different, hasn't it? Racing on pavement, racing super lates, and pretty much primarily sticking to that. How different is that now as we're talking here into September, in almost October?
It's definitely a lot different. This year I'm running the Chili Bowl, so I'm going back to my dirt roots and some other stuff, which I'm really, really stoked about. But no, the pavement stuff's been cool. I mean, it's been sweet. I definitely, sometimes I miss my dirt days, just getting flashbacks, But that year where I was kind of transitioning from one to another, definitely, it was hard, but it taught me a lot, just being able to go from car to car to car was definitely played a role. And you could kind of see later on, one car would help translate to another and vice versa. So definitely think it was beneficial. And now, I'm full-time in the late model stuff and all the pavement stuff. So now just head's fully dipped in the late model world now. So I definitely like it, though. I enjoy the super stuff. I think it's really, really neat, really, really cool. But my love for dirt racing is still there.
All right, so what's left on your agenda this year when it comes to racing before we get to January and running back at the Chili Bowl indoors in Tulsa?
We have obviously the Winchester and then All-American. I think I'm going to be running the World Crown. And then obviously this weekend, Governor's Cup, and then the Derby. And I think that's it until, shootout and Chili Bowl and all of those other stuff.
And I imagine because you're used to racing 80 to 120 races a year, literally, it is probably good that we're racing in November. November 15th is the finale for the Southern Super Series. It's happening, as you mentioned, it's going to be a really important race to wrap up the season. So you only have to race, November, then December's the Derby, then January's Chili Bowl. This kind of helps wean you off the idea that you've got months in between races for a change, right?
Yeah, I know. I've never been used to we don't have a lot of off weekends, but we have sometimes a good amount that I'm used to. It was used to dirt racing. You find a race every single day of the week if you wanted to. So we were gone probably. I think my most busiest year, I think I had 124 races, wow. And we were gone on the road weeks at a time. So it's definitely enduring and hard. My family likes to schedule better. It's a lot easier on them. My mom gets to be around the house more, and so does my brother. So, but yeah, it's definitely a lot lighter schedule, but definitely still the same concept and still same focus level.
I'd like to remind you can watch Gavan a couple times coming up real soon on some big races. This coming Saturday, the final Blizzard race at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola. That's the final race of this 4-race series. It's the Southern Super Series race. You can catch that on Racing America and Track TV. And I'm looking forward to seeing you race again at Winchester Speedway. It's on Sunday afternoon, October 12th, the Winchester 400 here on Track TV. And it's going to be exciting to see the progress and see how Gavan Boschele tackles the high banks. He said, I think I caught something in the interview, but I didn't go as well as I wanted to at Winchester. That certainly is a race for survival, and you certainly have made your way through to be a contender in that one, and no matter where you go, Gavan. Thanks a lot for your time again tonight here on the Bullring.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. And Gavan Boschele, the rest of the racing stars of the Southern Super Series, will be racing this Saturday, September 27th at Five Flags Speedway. It's the Blizzard Series Championship. It's a night of champions that you can see on Racing America and Track TV. Make sure you share our show with your friends, and we certainly enjoy bringing it to you each and every time we have a chance to talk to short track racers from across the country and highlight some great racing here on Track TV and Racing America. Thanks to Turn 1 High Performance Steering for their involvement in our program. Really appreciate their support all season long. I hope to see you at Oktoberfest in Wisconsin or at a Bullring real soon. I'm Jim Tretow. Thanks for joining us. The Bullring's produced and hosted by Jim Tretow. Producer Kurt Schrader. Video editor Vincent Villarreal. Special thanks Bob Sargent and Marty Mello Track Enterprises. Colin Smith with Racing America and Tony Stevens. The Bullring is an exclusive presentation produced by Track Enterprises in conjunction with Racing America.